everybody. Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's AEW review time. And of course, we wouldn't be an AEW review without our AEW guru joining us. He's back last week by popular demand. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Hey, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me back.
I know, it's been 11 years since we saw each other. Now we've seen each other 3 times in a week.
Oh, no, we're going to be sick of each other the way it's going, mate. But
yeah,
thanks for inviting me back, dude.
No worries. Right, before we get on with the review of Dynamite, which was last night from Sunrise, Florida. What a great place Sunrise, Florida sounds. There was 2 bits of news. One was the cancellation of AEW Dark Elevation. My assumption on that is 2 hours of Collision will soon be coming to add to the 2 hours of Dynamite, to add to an hour of Rampage, and to add to probably, they still do Dark. I mean, that hasn't been cancelled as far as I can see. Is that your impression? It's just because it becomes too much now?
I think so. I think on top of that as well, you've got a Ring of Honor. And I think some of the Ring of Honor tapings have been before Dynamite in recent weeks, whereas initially it was a separate taping.
Yeah.
As you say, though, with the addition of another 2-hour show, there was just too much. There's just too much. And also a lot of the stars that are started to establish themselves on Elevation have started to step up onto the main roster, and we've seen a lot more of them. So maybe that's factored into it as well.
Possibly, yes. Now, the next bit of news won't surprise anyone when I mention the name CM Punk. He is like shit in the field at the moment. He's everywhere. We'll start with the news that, come out after Monday. But he had a meeting with Chris Jericho and FTR in Florida last week. Again, this is all in internet reports. So as usual, you take them with a pinch of salt. You believe what you want to believe. For all intents and purposes, the meeting went well. I'm assuming this is just, can we do business together on AEW instead of act like idiots? And I'm guessing Chris Jericho said yes. And that's pretty much it. What was your view on Punk Jericho FTR meeting?
I think it is it's positive news. It's what needed to happen. There needed to be some kind of mediation. Jericho is obviously really highly thought of by Tony Khan, and FTR are Punk's closest confidants. So, needed to happen. Sounds like it's gone positive. I think I saw that it was unremarkable. Nothing really kicked off. There was certainly no physicality. So hopefully that's a sign that we are going to get the return.
And assuming that obviously the return is obviously happening, we're gathering that Jericho's going to be his opponent.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Does Jericho feed that back into, say, the Elite or the vice president and says, look, he wants to, do business? Does he try to convince those 3 that particularly maybe don't want to do business to do business?
Yeah, it's kind of like, they've got to give him some kind of special or preferential treatment, which shouldn't really be the case. But CM Punk is such a massive draw, whether you love him or you hate him. He brings eyes to the product. He brings money into the coffers, So I think, Jericho for the first one, it's like a safe pair of hands. They've worked together numerous times in the past, in WWE as well.
Yes.
So, it's like he's kind of on trial, I suppose. If everything goes okay with Jericho, then maybe, at some point down the line, we see them do something with the Elite, possibly. That's the match the fans want, isn't it? Maybe Kenny Punk or, FTR and Punk against the Bucks and Kenny. That's what everybody really wants. They're not really clamoring for CM Punk versus Chris Jericho.
No.
But they want CM Punk back, and Jericho's probably the best choice.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what them promos are like when he does come back. Second part of the news, again, revolves around Punk. So he has this meeting. It goes well. All's gravy in the world of Punk and AEW. All of a sudden, he turns up backstage at Monday Night Raw. Now, the story that we hear, and again, I always stress, you hear these reports on the internet, take them for what they are. Well, you have your own beliefs. The story is he does this meeting. He has the cage promotion for his cage fighting thing that he commentates on. Sorry. He gets on a plane. On this plane happens to be the majority of the Raw roster heading to Chicago. They bring him backstage. He comes in. He meets with Triple H for a couple of minutes, asks for another meeting with Triple H later on for a couple of minutes, talks to the guys, squashes any beef with Miz, and then is politely asked to leave, which he does. I got the Turnbuckle's Twitter was blowing up. I was halfway through a podcast on Monday night with the NWA, or Sal from the NWA in particular. When the Twitter was lighting up. I said it Monday. I said it yesterday. Sorry, on the Raw review that I wasn't bothered. I'm going to say I wasn't bothered. It was like we knew that he turned backstage. He was never going to go onto TV because contractually that's not, it's never going to happen while he's contracted to AEW. But from an AEW's fan's perspective, and you just touched on it, this is their biggest draw. This is their biggest name. He's trying to resolve issues. Yet he just turns up backstage at the competition. What are you thinking as a fan at this point?
Yeah, I was shocked. I was certainly shocked. I didn't expect that news at all. I don't think many people saw it coming. Obviously, Raw was in Chicago, where Punk lives, so it was convenient if he was going to do that. Apparently, he was talking to Baron Corbin, The Miz, and there was a picture of him with Tamina, and ultimately he wanted to talk to Triple H.
Yeah.
Was he just trying to prove to Tony Khan and AEW that he is capable of owning up to past discretions and being an adult? and yeah, maybe kind of resolving all of those issues on top of resolving the issues he's got in AEW. I don't know. It's a difficult one to speculate on.
Yeah,
because we forget that he's a person. And this could have been affecting him massively on a personal level.
Could have been.
So, perhaps he wants to get back to wrestling. He wants to get back to what he loves, what he fell back in love with when he joined AEW in the first place, and just take the opportunity while WWE are in town to try and resolve his issues with people there as well.
He's also very smart.
Yes. If it was just a case of kind of putting himself in the shop window, but he's tied down to AEW on a long-term contract. So as you said, there was no chance of him appearing on WWE TV anytime soon.
But they can also add time for his contract due to his injury as well. So that just
absolutely
longer, doesn't it? Anyway, we digress. That was the news that happened. Well, let's get on with Dynamite now. Dynamite kicked off, and if you've been watching Dynamite over the last sort of 2 months, Orange Cassidy normally starts the show, and he did yesterday, against Bandito for the International Championship. Good little back and forth match. I wasn't quite sure Bandito was a heel, but that's neither here nor there. Orange Cassidy hits the orange punch, beats Break, and wins, which is fine. He retains his title. Last week, Dave, I said to you, I was really unhappy that the TNT title had changed hands for about the 17th time or wherever it was. With this title, I don't mind Orange Cassidy. He's got it. He's got a run with it. That's good. How I view this is, if you ever taken your daughter to the arcades and you pull down a lever and it spins around and the number that shows up is the number of tickets that you win. That's how I see Tony Khan with this title. He just pulls the lever down, and whoever shows up, Orange Cassidy fights. There seems to be no feud for the title as such. It's just one guy. What do you make of the match, and what do you think about the International Championship?
Yeah, it's almost like it's being established more than the TNT title. It's almost given that kind of that spot on the card. It's defended week in, week out generally.
Yeah,
I have absolutely loved Orange Cassidy's run.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident he was going to retain. It was his 20th defense, so I was pretty confident he would. This match was fantastic. There was some great spots. The one-handed or the one-armed gorilla press. Bandito, that was awesome. Great to see more of Bandito as well. I'm hoping as the company brings on the new show that Bandito will be somebody that we see more of, and it looks like he's formed in a bit of an alliance with Orange at the end.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting where that goes moving forward as well.
It does, but just in terms, would you like to see a more sort of week-to-week feud with the same wrestler for this title rather than just seeing Orange Cassidy's going against this guy? It seems like it could be Serpentico next week, and then would you obviously just an established guy have a bit of a feud with it rather than just these names get thrown out of anywhere?
Yeah, it is. It's more of a showcase type of feel, isn't it? There's no kind of story or background as to why even certain wrestlers get a shot at the title. There's guys that haven't appeared on AEW or haven't been in matches recently. So yeah, perhaps now we've got through that 20th defense. Once the Bandito stuff and that segues off, maybe we'll come back and we'll have a feud for the title. Somebody the likes of Pac again coming back to AEW at some point, or somebody with an international. It's the international title, so you need to have a broad range of superstars from different countries competing for it.
Perhaps over here they get Jack Sabre Jr.
That'd be good. That would be good. Forbidden Door, maybe. Is that something?
That's before us, isn't it? Adam Cole had a segment, said he was going to call out Jericho later on, which is fine. The next match was, when it was announced, I was actually pretty stoked for. I thought Dax and Jeff Jarrett, what a great match this could be. I felt a bit let down. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. There was a lot going on in the match already. Jarrett winning, I'm not surprised. I wasn't really bothered about. Sanjay Dutt got involved. I just felt it could have been so much more than it was.
Yeah. When I initially was digesting this match, I hated that Dax lost. He seems to be in a lot of singles matches and he puts in good showings, but he always seems to lose. Obviously, this is ultimately going to lead to a match with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett taking on FTR for the tag titles.
Yeah.
Jarrett winning. He also picked up the pin last week, so that's 2 pins for Jarrett. I'm wondering if that links into what Tony Khan announced in terms of the upcoming Owen Hart tournament.
Yeah.
No, Jeff Jarrett was best friends and tag team partner with Owen when he passed.
He was.
As a bit of a wrestling historian, it would make a lot of sense for me for Jeff Jarrett to do well in the Owen. And if he's picking up a few singles wins in the lead up to that, I understand that. Whether that's where they're going, I'm just speculating.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, that ties us in quite nicely. Tony Khan's announcement was the return of the Owen Hart Memorial Trophy. Going to be held over consecutive weeks, but will end quite fittingly in Calgary. Obviously, those of you who don't know, that's where Owen Hart resided and lived and trained to be a wrestler. You're looking forward to the Owen. You've mentioned Jeff Jarrett as a popular name. Is there anyone else, Dax maybe, we've just discussed? Is this something you're going to be looking forward to happening again?
Yeah, definitely. I've missed the kind of the references to Owen over the years, obviously with different things going on with the WWE, never got into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I love that AEW, alongside working with Martha Hart and the Owen Hart Foundation, can do something to honour Owen. Yeah. And it was a great tournament last year. Adam Cole won and Britt Baker, if memory serves. Yeah. I think some Canadian, some Canadian style, maybe Sean Spears, a few different faces that weren't in the tournament last year. Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think the majority of the matches will be held in Canada, and then, as you say, the finals in Calgary. So I think that's really fitting.
It certainly is. Wardlow was next on the show. Pretty much had a squash with, you sent me the picture earlier on of the guy that he annihilated. Luchasaurus and Christian come out again, just all to the ring, turned around, walked back. And just after that, backstage, Moxley basically beat the crap out of RJ City and threatened there'll be scars to be left tonight, which leads on to later. Wardlow, I mean, it was a nothing match, was it?
Yeah, the guy Ariel Levy, they didn't actually name him on commentary. There wasn't really time to. It was a bit of a powerbomb symphony and all that. But I don't mind that. That's how Wardlow ultimately got over. To the degree he did initially, and he cooled off for a while. But while he was doing these kind of squash matches, that's what the fans loved. Now, looking at, thinking towards the future, I don't think he's finished with Powerhouse Hobbs, or I don't think Powerhouse Hobbs is finished with him. I'm quite happy for them to lead to another match, something like a last man standing. But it's interesting. I didn't really see a Luchasaurus bit. It was too similar to what we saw last week. I know they teased getting in the ring. But I think it's time that we start to hear from Christian. I know they're slow playing it a bit, but I think we could hear something from Christian, perhaps maybe on Rampage, if not next week at Dynamite.
Yeah, reading up on Rampage, I don't think he talks on Rampage this week. I think that's left. So perhaps next week we hear something. Yeah, I think they need to kind of decide which one's going after Wardlow.
Yeah, a bit of clarity.
Right. Yeah. Sort of semi-main event, really, time. Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin wrestled for a match to take on MJF at Double or Nothing. MJF was on commentary. Really good match again. It was a 6:30 for a table, if I can remember. Tay Mello gets involved. The ending was very Eddie Guerrero-ish, if you know what I mean. Where they went to hit, I think it was a skateboard referee. He didn't hit him, but he fell. Referee caught him, DQ'd it. Then it was announced that there would then be a tag match next week with Jungle Boy and Darby Allin against MJF and Sammy Guevara. And if Jungle Boy and Darby win, it becomes a 4-way at Double or Nothing. Is this just the long way around of getting to the short-term end, which was the 4-way?
Yeah, we spoke about it last week. It's such a long-winded way to get to what was clear from the start of this, the fatal 4-way at Double or Nothing. I didn't enjoy the ending to this. I'm not really, the past few weeks, I really haven't enjoyed this main event feud. I think we would have been better off in the same direction with the guys picking up wins, having great matches. The inconsistency with this match and the refereeing decisions. So they used a table in the match. The ref saw it, watched it, didn't try to stop it. And he saw Darby holding the skateboard. It's the Eddie Guerrero spot. But then he's disqualified him for something that he didn't see when he saw the use of the table. So I don't like that. I think it makes a mockery of, when they do the officiating properly. And they made a big deal of coming out in the Dax and Jarrett match and stopping Satnam, Jay Lethal, and Sanjay coming to the ring. But then this refereeing decision was unchallenged, and it was, I didn't like it.
No, didn't make any sense.
It's a great match.
Yeah.
Great. But I just thought that 6:30, as impressive as it was, you save that for the pay-per-view. It's a risky move. And I just find it so needless. And Sammy Guevara does take these risks. That's who he is. That's his style. That's what he likes to do. And it got a great pop from the crowd. But I just thought it was, with a table of involvement as well, just unnecessary.
I think I said to Andy once, you can have I think it was more the commander match. I know it was Viking matches was like less is more sometimes, and why are you giving away some of this sort of stuff when you could have just saved it? Just a mention on the crowd. Now we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I expected so much more from a Florida crowd. We'll talk about something because the next bit we're going to get to was quite a big surprise for me. But they were dreadful this week.
I thought so. There was a lot of sitting on the hands when it panned around the crowd.
Yeah.
You could see, there was a guy in the front row that was kind of trying to get the chants going, and he was really kind of, proactive throughout the show, but that highlighted some of the others around him that were just kind of sitting and not doing much. You'd think they pay so much for those ringside tickets, a lot of them, and a typical AEW crowd are going crazy, and it was a bit subdued.
It was indeed. Right. We move on next bit. Adam Cole calls out Chris Jericho. Now, the Jericho doesn't come out, and the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society does. Surprisingly, Orange Cassidy and Bandito come out all of a sudden. I don't know where that comes from, but they come out to try and even the odds. Numbers game gets too much. Then this random music hits, and I'm like, okay, well, who the hell is this? Because Roderick Strong, from like literally buried alive in NXT, haven't seen him, requested his release about 6,000 times, was never granted it. As far as I was aware, was still in the WWE. I heard about a month ago that potentially he was quietly released, but there was no tangible report to confirm it. Debuts out of nowhere and helps even the odds, and they clear the ring, and Adam Cole's a bit skeptical, and they do that big sort of Kevin and Sammy hug. What a great get for AEW anyway. Is it just a shame that right now, maybe, I mean, the Orange Cassidy Bandito bit was a bit random. Perhaps if O'Reilly was fit and they still had Fish, it would have been the Undisputed Era reuniting officially. But regardless of that, Roderick Strong in AEW.
I thought, for as much as I criticised the previous match and the previous segment, I thought this was absolutely perfect. I thought they did such a good job of executing this. Following the Orange and Bandito match, they kind of did the handshake and the glasses and the show of respect, and then they did actually appear backstage with Renee together. So it is kind of consistent that they were still kind of hanging out. Why they would come out to Adam Cole's aid doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No. Orange has had his issues with Jericho in the past.
Yes.
But when it was still 4-on-3, I did think that somebody's coming here.
Yeah.
But my mind straight away went to Kyle O'Reilly. I'm not sure how far he's off a return. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But when that music hit, I thought, oh, Kyle. When Roderick Strong came out, the crowd popped. It was a great moment, cleared the ring. And then you had the slight hesitation between him and Cole, because I think the last time they were in NXT together, Cole actually super kicked Strong to end the Undisputed Era. So there was that hesitation, that reluctance, and then the hug, and the crowd went up again. And great get for AEW, a former Ring of Honor World Champion, TV Champion, Tag Champion. He was a North American champion in NXT. Marina Shafir, his wife, is with AEW. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think he'll be a great get for AEW. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Ring of Honor long term. But he's certainly got a role while Cole's other buddies are out, and maybe we see Bobby Fish return one day. Maybe you can ask him when you talk to him. They could move into something with the former Undisputed Era, but for now, I think inserting Roderick Cole into this feud with Jericho and his goons, I think that's a great use of him. Great debut, loved it.
Yeah, and they've still got, technically, if Jericho is involved in this, they've still got one more to get, though, I suppose, to even the odds first.
That's it, yeah.
But then Jericho's kind of segueing, like we've already discussed, the Punk. So this would have to kind of be a double or nothing thing to finish.
Maybe
started, and then Punk comes in and.
Well, I think Collision is something like the June the 19th, and that is the rumored return for CM Punk as well. It's a date in June. So they've got about 6 weeks for this. So it might just keep everybody tied up until then.
Yeah, possibly. It's a great. Roderick Strong's a great talent. And again, as like I said, a great get for AEW. Increases an ever-increasing roster, but sometimes that's a good thing. When you can get a name like that, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I don't necessarily blame Tony Khan for that. We move on to Jade Cargill and Taya Valkyrie for the Women's Championship. I thought the match was okay. Again, as you say, Jade Cargill was improving. She I thought Taya may have been able to pull a bit more of a better match out of her than what we saw. Obviously, Taya couldn't use the Woka Loka, whatever it's got. Sorry, I can't remember her finisher because it's the same as Jade Cargill's finisher.
Yes, the Road to Valhalla.
Sorry, her name is the Rhea Loka, isn't it? The Road to Valhalla.
Yeah.
My apologies. So she couldn't use that because it was the same finisher as Cargill. the finish is Cargill basically rolls up, pulls the tights, of the tights of Taya Valkyrie, and holds on to the title. Yeah, I just thought it was a little bit of a lame defense. I suppose this could make another match. They could have another match later on because the finish wasn't exactly fully clean. In the fact that she held the tight, so perhaps we're going to get another match down the line between these two.
Yeah. It's such a shame. It had a real big fight feel to begin with.
Yeah.
I think part of that was the ring announcements. They waited till they were in the ring and they did a proper boxing style, big introduction. It was Justin Roberts. The match was very flat. And I understood the reason she couldn't use it. Obviously, Mark Sterling being her lawyer. And having that little bit of stroke so that she couldn't use the move. But the finish involved Taya going for the move and then kind of like, oh, forgot I can't use it type of thing, or heat at the moment. So it was a roll up and it was a grab of the tights. So as you say, I think we'll see another match between these two. Jade going 56 and Ona.
Yeah, she's gone. Yeah, as you said. They obviously look. Jade Cargill's money. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of work. Maybe still, she needs to be brushed up a little bit on the work. They deserved better than what they got, I think, in terms of the match. You can say it had a big fight feel. I mean, the crowd were dreadful. Anyway, maybe that didn't help. The flat audience to that.
The AEW audience, I don't think they really know Taya too well. I know she's an experienced wrestler and she's spent time in a lot of companies, but I don't think the AEW audience know too much about her. We haven't really heard her speak much. We've done a couple of backstage segments on Rampage, which, not all AEW fans watch Rampage week in, week out, because sometimes, depending on how it's booked, it's a little bit missable. So for AEW fans just watching Dynamite, they don't really know who Taya is, which again, alongside the kind of quiet crowd, may have played into this match feeling a bit flat.
Yeah, because she debuted in Canada, if I'm right.
That's right. Yeah.
People know her. Obviously, it would have made sense for her to debut in Canada. I say, hopefully, she's a veteran. Jade's still relatively new into the business, despite being 56. And there's money in Jade. I think just a case of let's have that match, redo it later on down the line, and hopefully with a better crowd. You're right, Justin Roberts made it a big fight feel, but the crowd kind of let it slip, and perhaps that affected the outcome of the match. Main event time on AEW Dynamite was the Butcher and the Blade versus Kenny Omega, and I hate pronouncing this guy's name, Takeshita.
What you need to do, Ad, is you need to take the I out. Just take the I out and just say Takeshita.
Takeshita, is that it?
Takeshita.
Right, gotcha.
Just take the I out. Takeshita.
Gotcha. I'll never do it, but
try that.
I understand. Okay. So this was the main event of the match. Omega and Takeshita won. You're not going to work, is it? Blackpool Combat Club come out. There's a little twist here where we were kind of talking about this with him turning on Omega and potentially aligning himself with the BC Blackpool Combat Club. It looked like it was going that way, and then they absolutely annihilated him. I'm sorry. You say get rid of the I, but it's going to be Takeshita for me. Takeshita. Takeshita. There you go. That'll do. That's good. That's
better. That's better.
Isn't it? Yeah. They absolutely annihilated him. Basically, made him bleed. Screwdriver. It looked like it was like a murder to end Dynamite this week. It's kind of the standard BCC thing, which we've been getting used to over the last week or some months. But it kind of moved it along a bit as we get closer and closer to Double or Nothing and potentially Blood and Guts or Anarchy in the Arena, as we commented on last week.
I love Danielson on commentary, and I don't know if you caught his nod to Regal when he called Excalibur Man in the Mask.
Yes.
So that was a little tip of the cap.
I was waiting for the I was waiting for the little things that you would say after it. I can't really know. I'd squeeze orange.
Call him scrumptious.
Yeah. I was waiting, but yeah, it was good to have.
Yeah, I think Danielson in this role is just fantastic. He's one of the few wrestlers that can be your top babyface one week and everybody's behind him, and then a few weeks later everybody hates him, but they love to hate him. I think he's great as this kind of leader type role or spokesperson for the BCC. I think the match, it was okay, but I think they were struggling for time. I think they ran long because particularly the finish with the screwdriver and Takeshita, they didn't really give it much time to breathe. I would have preferred at the point where Takeshita stopped it and he was standing with a BCC looking a little bit confused and not knowing which way to go, if they would have ended it there. I think the low blow from Wheeler on Takeshita and then the screwdriver attack is a bit extreme to say that they're playing that will Takeshita go to the BCC or will he go to the Elite? So I liked a lot of it. I liked the story overall, but even the tag match, it broke down into a bit of a tornado match. And I think that was because of time restraints.
Yeah, they said it was getting a bit pushed for time, which, you know, and that's happened a few times in the past with AEW. They felt like something has been rushed along the lines, perhaps, as you say, due to time. Overall, I thought it was a good episode of Dynamite. I just didn't think it pulled up many trees.
Yeah. So again, some good wrestling, some good matches. I love the Orange Bandito match. I love the Roderick Strong return. I've rated it as a B, maybe B- type of show. It was okay. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. But as you say, it didn't pull up any trees. The main event picture and angle is leaving. You know, it could have been done better. I'm sure. I'm no booker. But I'm sure we could have got to the fatal four-way, which everybody next week is anticipating that Jungle Boy and Darby win the tag match.
Did they put a swerve on that and wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there was the bit with MJF and Sammy when they were going to the car, and Sammy had left. He'd left Tay Mello where she was, God knows. He'd left his bag and he was just in his gear and he was just getting in the car and MJF stopped him. So, there's maybe dissension there and they might ultimately go to the one-on-one with Sammy and Guevara, but I don't think so. I think it's a fatal four-way. And
I think we are into May next week anyway. So
yes,
and the paper,
we're not far.
We're not far away from it. So that kind of wraps up the AEW. But now, before I've got to always do this. I can't see you enough of it, but if you can see, it's gone. Hang on. If you can see, no, you can't see my phone, can you? No, maybe not. No, you can't see it. Oh, well. Well, then there was the Inside the Ropes magazine, which we are on page 2 of the magazine. So if any of you've got the magazine, if you don't, get it. Download the digital version. If you can't get it in the shops, I struggle to get it in the shops today, hence why I download the digital version. We're in there, so thanks to Inside the Ropes for assisting us with that. In terms of guests, I am back in a couple of hours. It's Rusev Day for me and Andy today. We're not interviewing Rusev, unfortunately, but we're interviewing Matt Raybold. That's another surname I've got to try and pronounce later, so I'm going to have to ask him if that pronunciation is right. It's not as bad as Takeshita, but it's it's equally as difficult. Next week, May the 3rd be with me. I and the lovely Fiona Lochran from Inside the Ropes. We meet Tony Lacasso from the NWA, who's a commentator and announcer. So that's a different piece of wrestling. There you go. Well, that's the first page.
I think it's issue 32. I actually subscribed last night. On the website, so you can get it delivered. I think it's £6. You can cancel at any time. So if anybody wanted to check that out, as you say, hitting the turnbuckles logo. It's page 2, did you say?
Page. I had it then. It went away. Page 2. We've got a QR code on there. Scan that bad boy, and you'll get through to our link tree. Next. So I've got Tony Lacasso on the 3rd. On the 4th, meet Flash Morgan Webster. On the 10th, we announced yesterday, Brian Kendrick will be joining us. That'll be an interesting one. The 11th, Bobby Fish. So we can ask him about is he going to come back? He won't give anything away, I'm sure.
Ask him his thoughts on Roderick Strong, yeah.
Yeah, funnily enough, we're going to Matt won't be able to tell us what the big surprise on Impact is this week, but I think we kind of already know, but I'm not going to say anything. So Brian Cage, Bobby Fish, just incredible. The week later, we're going to do all things ECW with him, the old ECW, not the WWE version. We'll do that. 21st, I meet second generation NWA star AJ Kazana and Fiona will be joining that. It's his birthday. He's going to do it by the pool, which is going to be an interesting one, considering it'll be pitch black over here and over there. He'll be by the pool celebrating his birthday. The 21st, and I said the 21st, the 23rd is EC3. That should be a fun podcast with lots controlling the narrative. WWE run twice. Impact Wrestling, should he have left, should he have stayed? On the 1st of June, we've got Yestin Reese, who's a big British independent wrestler, was on World of Sport. He was tag team champion with Kip Sabian. He has just got back into the ring and took on Frankie Kazarian last week in a house show in England. So we're looking forward to meeting him. And finally, on the 15th of June, we meet the lovely Angelina Love for a sit down about all things beautiful people and TNA. Lastly, just a quick sponsor shout. Jurassic. I'm not going to get into all of the events because I'm doing that later on. Jurassic Pro Wrestling, Ignite Pro, get down there. Andy will be there Sunday as well. Now he confirmed to me today. We will both be at the show at the bitter end on Sunday. So we're not going to charge for pictures and autographs. So you want to come and say hello. Say hello. Jurassic Pro Wrestling, where I've already said. Corey McRae, Matt Cast, Beers and Beatdowns. Going to have a catch up with them very soon as well. Lastly, we're very close to 500 Twitter followers. It may not sound a lot to anybody out there, but it means the world to us. If we do get there, and when we get there, we will pick a random name. No, it will not be John Cena. And they will win a bit of merchandise from us, to be confirmed. Mate, Dave, you're on there, so you'll be in the raffle.
Wicked.
We certainly won't be biased and give it to Cena, although we are very grateful and humbled that he's following us. Dave, it's been great talking things AEW. Just quickly, sorry, I just read something about Andrade. So, okay, he's got about a year left. Okay, that was fine. I was wondering if that had been something that had happened, but no, he's got a year left on his contract, and that was what the news was. It's been great, Dave, to talk to you again today, to talk all things AEW. No doubt we'll get you back on next week to do this all again. Andy was very happy, so as long as he's happy and I'm happy and you're happy, you can come.
I'm more than happy. I'm really, really kind of chuffed that you've asked me to be to help you out the last few weeks. And anytime you need anybody to talk AEW, I'm here for you, man.
You are our guru, man. So we need you on. So yeah, we'll get that sorted next week, guys. This has been the AEW review. This will be on Spotify. This will go out to YouTube. We're on Instagram as well. We'll put the thumbnail on there, and you can chat to us any way you want. But for now, guys, I'll be back in about 2.5 hours with Rusev Day with Matt Ryweld. Got to get that name sorted. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, we will see you next week for another AEW review. Good night.